Hey Gearheads, and welcome to Garage Talk, a discussion about all things automotive. I'm Cory.
And I'm Matt. And each week this podcast will serve as a catalyst for discussion on all sorts of topics that grind our gears, rev our engines, or just need a little extra conversation.
On this week's episode, we are actually beginning a two-part series on car movies, because we all know we can't talk about car movies just in one podcast. So we are going to break it into two different movies. I think we'll agree some. We may disagree by a little bit, maybe half, maybe more. I don't know. We'll see where it goes from here, because we have not shared our list with each other yet, so this is all live reactions. So
I have some suspicions.
we shall see how this goes. As always, this is a discussion about all things automotive. You, our listeners, just as well as it is between the two of us. And you can get back in touch with us on all social media platforms. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all at GT Garage Talk. Or you can go to our website for links to our YouTube, our email address, and all that. That is gtgaragetalk.com. You can give us feedback, especially on this episode, because we have our list. We know y'all have your list of car movies, so we absolutely want to hear back from you. Did we get things wrong? Are we wrong? Do we love too much? Do we hate too much? So it'll be really interesting to see. But, Matt, do you want to kick us off with one of your movies on your list?
I would be happy to kick us off with one of my all-time favorites. And I was actually talking to my wife a little bit ago about this film. I own this film on DVD somewhere. I don't know for sure where it has ended up in all the several moves since I got it, but I found a copy on DVD of the 1974 version, the OG, Gone in 60 Seconds.
That's an interesting one.
I like, it's almost a cult classic kind of a film, because there's not much depth to the film, but it set so many records for the film industry, for the automotive industry within film, that it's definitely worth mentioning.
And it spurred a remake.
And it spurred a remake. And I actually, the remake part of this, I'll mention this later based on one of my other favorites, but it's also a remake, and I did not realize until I was doing some digging today that it's a remake also. But this one, the guess is somewhere between 90 and 130 cars damaged or destroyed entirely in the making of this film.
So why don't you give our listeners and our viewers who are unfamiliar, just because, I mean, you and I both know what we're talking about, but maybe not everyone. Give us a quick synopsis.
All right. So I pulled the storyline off of IMDb, and so I'll just kind of read through this a little bit, give you a basis of what is taking place in this film. Insurance investigator Mandrin Pace and his team lead double lives as unstoppable car thieves when a South American drug lord pays Pace to steal 48 cars for him. All but one, a 1973 Ford Mustang, fun fact on that one in a minute, are in the bag. So all of them but the 73 Mustang are in the bag as Pace prepares to rip off the fastback, codenamed Eleanor, which carries over to the later film. In Long Beach, he is unaware that his boss has tipped off the police after a business dispute. Detectives are waiting and pursue Pace through 5 cities as he desperately tries to get away. Now, one of the records for this film was the length of the car chase.
Yeah.
And I want you to realize, for this, typically in car chase scenes, they're minutes. Like 3, 5, 7, 10-minute car chase is a long car chase.
Especially when you're talking the logistics of filming.
Yes. Weeks,
shutting down cities and
weeks of filming for 10 minutes worth of a car chase. This car chase was 40 minutes of this hour and a half long film. It set the record for the longest film. I don't know how long it's held that record. I couldn't find that information, but it set the record for the longest car chase and the most damaged vehicles in a single car chase on film.
So, if I'm doing my math right, and I'm not because I've already forgotten the numbers, that is a good chunk of the movie dedicated solely to a car chase.
Yes.
So, how much story would you say is in this movie?
There may have been about 10 words said in that 40 minutes time, so most of the film is dedicated to this 40-minute car chase. Yeah, it's but it's spectacular. The director, producer, and star of the film actually did the driving in the '73 Mustang, and
naturally.
Well, yeah, of course.
It's just an excuse to have fun.
The funny thing was, though, and I was reading this through on Wikipedia, so take that for what you will, but it says both, and he only could afford 2 Mustangs, were actually 71s that the grills were changed out on.
Nice.
And, a couple of the little details to make them look like they were 73s for a film that came out in 74. So they were meant to look like brand new Mach 1 Mustangs, but never really were.
Nice.
So, fun little tidbit of information there. So, 73 Mustang, and at one point in the film, there was a wreck that happened. He cuts across, he's flying down the highway, cuts across 4 lanes of traffic, and actually clips another vehicle and wraps the front of the car around a telephone pole and backs up and takes off again. Like, the director, the star of the film, is in the driver's seat of the vehicle at the time when this happens, and everyone thought he was dead.
Until he backed up.
Until he backed up and took off again. There are car wrecks all over the place in this film. It is fantastic.
According to IMDb, it had a budget of $150,000, so
right,
that's a pretty cheap film to make.
And
Granted, it was
it cleared $40 million.
Yeah.
So I mean,
that's quite interesting.
Yeah, the ROI is pretty
Yes.
good on that one for 40 minutes of.
Most people would take that. So I want to talk a little bit about the remake because I recently brought that up on our Facebook and Instagram accounts because it was recently on sale on iTunes for $4.99. So naturally, I snatched it up. Naturally, I've watched it since then. So it's very recent in my memory. Yeah. And so this movie came out in 2000, starring Nicolas Cage, Angelina Jolie, and some other people. And very impressionable time.
Oh yeah.
In my life, I was 14 years old.
Yep.
Dreaming about my first car.
Yep.
And here's a movie all about stealing the hottest cars of the day and some classics.
Yeah.
I didn't care about acting. I didn't care about story. Having that knowledge now about acting and story and all that stuff. Very cringe-worthy movie.
Oh yeah.
And performance.
Yeah.
The jokes, just everything in it. I still love it though.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And even with the star of the movie being a Ford Mustang, which is a direct competitor and nemesis to my favorite car of all time, I still thoroughly enjoy that movie for the gearhead in me.
Oh yeah. As do I.
And according to IMDb here, it had a budget of just a modest $90 million.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah, just a little bit more than the 1974 version.
Yeah, yeah.
Of course, that is estimated. And it broke gross USA we'll round up 102 million.
Oh wow.
Cumulative worldwide 237. So they made their money back, but nowhere near as lucrative as the 1974 version.
No.
But again, you kind of mentioned it before. The 1974 version kind of broke ground. It steered the automotive industry and automotive film into a new direction and kind of ushered in probably a lot of the other movies we're going to end up talking about.
Probably so.
But let's see. This one is 118 minutes, and no record on how long the car chase is with Eleanor in this one. It is not 40 minutes.
It is not 40 minutes.
But
No.
it's still.
I'm
still
pretty
good movie and a
sure
good chase.
Nicolas Cage and Angelina Jolie did not want to share 40 minutes of a film with a car.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, when you've got those two big names in it,
yeah.
to be upstaged by a car,
Right.
yeah, that's kind of a tough one. So, we're gonna try and lead into franchises in our follow-up episode to
Yes.
this. So I'm gonna have to go down my list a little because I have several. And one thing you will notice about my list, I when it comes to movies, I am very much a millennial. I like new stuff. So you will see probably my oldest movie looking on here is probably from the early 2000s, late 90s. Not to say that I don't appreciate older film. I just have not watched a lot of classic car films. We'll just leave it at that. Fry me in the comments if you will. But so I'm going to bring up a newer one. This is definitely not like super high on my list because it's really more for comedic effect. But you got to bring up Ricky Bobby. So Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby. For all you NASCAR fans out there, Matt's already rolling his eyes, hanging his head at me that I brought it up. But I had to make sure this got in the episode at some point.
Fair enough.
So
Fair enough.
I cannot tell you how many times I quote this movie in a week. I've quoted it already tonight before we started filming. It's a very quotable film.
Yes.
You can't help but it's. I was giving Matt a hard time about story and all that of the original Gone in 60 Seconds. Story and the acting and the performance of Talladega Nights isn't much better.
Yeah.
Especially in a film starring Will Ferrell. So,
Well, yeah. The difference being, I think it was purposefully overdone.
Right.
Yeah.
As are most Will Ferrell movies.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And so I'm pulling up IMDb on it right now just so we can really go into it. So this one came out in 2006. Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby. Let's see what we've got here as far as budget and income according to our good old friend. So did come in cheaper than
Okay.
Gone in 60 Seconds.
I would hope so.
Estimated $72.5 million.
Wow.
And gross U.S. 148, so did pretty good. They over doubled what they spent on it. Cumulative worldwide 163, so did very well.
Yeah.
Like I said, this one is one of those cult comedy classics. Ha ha, alliteration. That really just kind of lingers on and stays around. But if you ain't first, you're last. I mean. And so I mean, I could probably quote this the rest of the night that we're here, and to spare all of you listeners who absolutely abhor this movie, I will do my best not to.
Dear sweet baby Jesus.
Dear infant baby Jesus. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's too many. Yeah, it's too much.
Yeah.
So, Talladega Nights.
Yes. So I had to bring it up.
Yeah.
Had to throw Ricky Bobby out in there.
Oh, yeah. Fair enough.
Just Sacha Baron Cohen's character, the French guy. I don't even know his name. I quote him, really thin pancakes.
Oh, my goodness. That film was on. Grant was flipping through the TV the other day, and Grant's my oldest boy. And he was flipping through the TV the other day, and that was on. And I stopped and watched it for a little bit, and it was when Ricky Bobby came to his house and talked with him in the garden or whatever. I like the amount of inappropriate conversation that happened in that 3-minute span of that film was tremendous. But
it's not the
hilarious.
most wholesome movie.
No,
and
probably wouldn't be a featured film for families.
Yes,
but.
I do apologize. I do apologize.
Oh,
But-
it's
if you just need a stupid laugh.
Oh yeah. After the kids go to bed.
Yes, it's good for that. I mean, from the very Ricky Bobby's birth, in the back of I don't even remember what it was that his dad was driving.
Yeah.
But he pulled a J turn in it basically in the hospital parking lot, I think, and he popped out. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Okay. All right.
yeah, just completely ridiculous movie.
That's
that
fantastic.
really just serves to be quoted
Yes.
over and over.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, so
So this is the other one that I'll dust off. This was the one that I did not realize was a remake, but The Italian Job
yes.
with Mark Wahlberg,
Mm-hmm.
among others. Jason Statham's in this one. Charlize Theron, if I'm saying her name right.
Charlize Theron.
Yeah, that one. Edward Norton, Donald Sutherland. Lots of big names in the film.
Really huge cast on that
Yeah,
one.
yeah. And I mean, lots of funny places in the film. I really enjoyed watching this one. I need to go back and find the original Italian Job and watch it.
So this one was on my list as well. It is one that I have watched many times. So this one came out in 2003. Again, still a very impressionable time of my life.
Yep.
And we're talking obviously about the newer one here because neither one of us have any viewing history of the original.
No.
I did know it was a remake, so that did not surprise me any. But yeah, well, before I get into it,
Yeah.
I kind of cut you off. What are your thoughts on it?
So it's been a long time since I've seen it. Again, when we're putting notes together and things for these, I had to really rack my brain over a couple of them. Influential films for me, but definitely.
Well, to that point, like it's kind of knowing that many people are going to listen to this list. We're definitely going to forget.
Oh
movies.
yeah. Oh yeah.
And even movies that we absolutely love. So feel free to absolutely roast us in the comments.
Oh yeah.
Roast us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Roast
Yeah.
us wherever for forgetting your favorite. But it is a daunting task to come up with a list kind of on the fly. I did cheat a little. I Googled and I searched my iTunes library and my brother's iTunes
There you go.
library. So, but yeah.
Yeah. So one of the I'm looking forward to the comment that says, "I can't believe you left out." Insert
Yes.
your whatever
your
it is.
favorite movie.
And by all means, like there are plenty of movies that I have heard a lot about lately.
Don't list them. It may be on my list.
But ones that I haven't seen.
Right.
Dirty Harry, Crazy Larry, or Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry. I don't even remember the title of it. Car film.
Yeah.
Two-Lane Blacktop.
Yeah.
Never seen it. American Graffiti.
Never
Never seen it. So there are films that are about cars that are from before my time that I have not yet had the privilege of watching. So
Yeah, like I said earlier, I'm
By
guilty
all
of
means.
having tons of new stuff on my list.
yeah, well, and give us some feedback. Give us
Yes.
some movies that we need to watch to help correct our lists that are
And
compiled.
then we'll come back and share our thoughts about
Oh,
said
absolutely.
movies with you.
Yes. So yeah, The Italian Job, just a fun, crazy little revenge kind of a film.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed that one. Now there is, and I'll see if you can figure this one out as we go along. There is a bit of a theme
Mm-hmm.
outside of cars
In your movies?
in the movies that I have selected in my list. I'll see the Gone in 60 Seconds does not have
This theme?
this theme,
Okay.
but the others that I have, the other couple of ones that I have.
so
on my
let's see,
list
you've gone
do.
from
So,
74 to 2003, so
Right.
it may not be a person. So my thoughts, again, very influential time. So 2003, I had 3 years to 14. I would have been 17, so I'm driving
There you
by
go.
this point in
There you
time. This movie stars, as its cars, 3 Mini Coopers, first gen reborn Mini Coopers, which I now have history with. Mini Coopers. Prior to this movie coming out, I thought they were ridiculous cars.
Well,
I rolled my eyes when Motor Trend Car and Driver wrote about them. We talked trash about them on the school bus. We thought they were ridiculous, underpowered, too small,
Right.
you name it.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, I was into Camaros at the time, so anything without 8 cylinders was underpowered. But when this movie came out, that kind of changed my perception. I was like, okay, that's kind of a cool car. You know, all the tricks they did in.
Oh, yeah.
Which, watching it now, with my eyes now, not 17-year-old eyes, I'm like, yeah, that would never happen. Or
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just the fact that they made such a big deal about all the weight of the gold
Right.
that they steal in those cars. And then there are scenes of them, I don't think they're necessarily jumping, but they're going from a higher elevation to a lower elevation,
Yeah.
and they do a nosedive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wouldn't happen.
No.
That was an empty stunt car,
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure.
Oh, yeah.
But
Coming off the staircases.
yeah,
and,
yeah, climbing staircases
Oh, yeah.
and doing all that
No.
crazy stuff. Yeah, yeah, total movie, just
Yeah.
show stuff.
Suspension of disbelief.
Oh,
yeah.
very much so.
Oh, yeah.
But man, did I love this car or this movie, and come to appreciate the car because of the movie.
Definitely.
Doesn't hurt that I had a movie crush on one of the stars of the movie. And I'm not talking to Mini Cooper here. But yeah, truly appreciate this movie. It's one I will watch over and over again.
Yeah.
Acting a little bit cringeworthy. I think that is probably a theme of most of the movies on this list. I've got a couple that the acting is spot on, the story's pretty good.
Yeah.
But this is another one that's a little cheesy, a little corny, but that's also kind of the genre.
Sure.
So, according to IMDb, we're $60 million budget and gross US 106, cumulative worldwide 176. So,
Yeah.
it made its money back. So did well.
$60 million. They were only stealing $35 million in gold bars, so, you know.
There you go.
Just borrow the money for the film and not return it, right?
It was part of the job. Like,
See?
that's what
You
we
know.
had to do.
Oh, yeah. That would be like an Ocean's twist to
Yes.
a film right there, wouldn't it?
I love the Ocean's
Yeah,
movies.
those are good.
Those are really good, but we're here to talk about cars. There are barely cars in those movies, but
Barely.
there are cars in those movies.
Yeah.
All right, so now to talk about one that I did not see in theaters. It is recent,
Okay.
and it was very late in the game before I saw it. I've only seen it in perhaps the last month and a half since the whole shelter-in-place, all that happened. I think you know where I'm going with this one. This one bucks the trend of story, bucks the trend of bad acting.
Oh, my gosh.
It was just a great all-around movie, and that is Ford versus Ferrari. The reason I did not go see that in theaters is, I've mentioned before, we've got a 2-year-old. We can't just pack up and go to the movies whenever we want. When we do go out, we are very strategic about where we go and what we go and do. And,
Oh, yeah.
so we both enjoyed the movie, my wife and I, but we watched it in the comfort of our home while our kid was in the room, just to the side of us, asleep. And so, yes, we waited for it to come out, saw it at home, but an amazing retelling of mostly factual information.
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, and I've seen, like, I was a huge fan of Carroll Shelby before the film came
Right.
out. I have loved the Daytona Coupe. I have loved the Shelby Cobra. I have loved the GT forever. And this film kind of brings them all together, along with Carroll and Miller, and I mean it just the whole thing, the little bits of artistic freedom that they took throughout the film were seamlessly done.
Right.
Absolutely beautiful beautiful storytelling. If you have not seen this film,
Yeah, this is a must from both of us.
you
We say
have
go out
got
and see
to
it.
see this
Now,
film.
I will say it is a long one. Do I have runtime? 152 minutes.
Yeah,
It's a long movie.
Yeah.
So carve out some time to be invested in it. A little backstory here. So both Matt and I are from Texas. So is the movie's main character, Carol Shelby, played by Matt Damon. The late Carol Shelby.
I would argue best ever performance from Matt Damon I've
Really?
ever seen. Absolutely spectacular.
I'll have to rack my brain, but yes, it was a really good performance.
Of the Damon that I have seen,
right.
That would be my argument.
So yeah. I mean, I'm not going to argue with you right now.
Okay.
Give me time. I might
All right.
come up with something to argue with you about. I mean, we did just talk about Oceans, but
Yeah.
that was again comedic. But yes, so I mentioned before this is a retelling of actual events, mostly factual, so based on a true story.
Yeah.
I just loved seeing the backstory of the swagger of this Texan.
Oh man.
Coming in and telling the bigwigs, the man in charge at Ford, whose last name happens to be Ford,
Yeah.
how they're going to do things and what they're going to do, and just kind of calling the shots.
Yeah.
For the most part throughout the movie.
Well,
I don't want to spoil
yeah,
the whole thing, but
and rightly so.
right.
Carol had been to Le Mans several years in a row, and had decided not to race anymore, but had the pedigree, had the know-how, had the car,
Right.
and Ford came to him with some financial backing and said, "We want to win,"
Right.
and he delivered.
Right. Movie kind of paints it as a he needed the money kind of thing.
Right.
I don't know how true that was, but very interesting to see kind of the retelling and the backstory and just how offended the American side of things got from the Italians over there at Ferrari. But especially when you've got Enzo Ferrari, the founder of Ferrari, going up against, what was it, the grandson of Henry Ford at that point in time?
I think it was the second.
Second? So the son of Henry
Yeah.
Ford? Doesn't matter.
Either way.
Y'all can correct me, right?
Fix it later, yeah.
No, I'll let them. They can correct me.
Okay, all right.
Not worth it. I'll be editing this week. So y'all can have a video to watch on Friday. But, oh yeah, definitely a good movie. Great way to spend 152 minutes. Good car story, good story.
Oh, man, yes.
Focuses just as much on the people as it does on the cars. And again, going back to the genre, most car movies are geared toward an audience that don't care really about the story. They just want
Right.
to see their favorite car on screen doing some awesome tricks.
Yep.
Which will lead us into next week's episode. We've got quite a few of those. So that'll be worth coming back and looking at. So, all right. Any other thoughts on Ford v Ferrari?
Just that everyone and their mom need to
Go
see
see
that
it.
film.
Yes.
I'll be vulnerable with this one and say that this is one of two car films that has ever made me cry.
Oh,
The storyline is incredible,
Mhm.
and the way the film ends. I won't spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it yet. You need to go see it.
yeah.
But absolutely spectacular film.
I might have cried at some car movies, but for an entirely different reason. We'll just leave it at that.
Okay. All right. And now a word from our sponsors. Back to the episode. So I have one, and it's kind of a franchise film, but only to a point. They tried to remake it again, and it wasn't Jason Statham, so it wasn't worth doing it again. And that would be The Transporter, the first one, And I think it was just here within the past couple of years that they started remaking those or adding to them or whatever it was. I didn't even see them. But the first one, the original Transporter film, Jason Statham, love it. Absolutely love it. I think that was one of my first Statham films. And
I'm trying to think what mine would be.
Your first Statham film?
Mm-hmm.
I've seen him in lots.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorites. But
he's got that gritty, I don't care.
And the role and his character, like
it
was great. It was a lot of fun. Fun movie, lots of cool driving stuff. A decent storyline, some decent acting to it. I think typecasting probably played a little bit of a role there, but it worked for that film. It was really good.
Well, it's like Tony Stark and Robert Downey Jr. When you've got the right actor and the right character, it doesn't matter.
Definitely.
So I can't rebut you too much on this one.
Okay.
Guilty. Hadn't seen it.
Okay.
So roast me if I need to see it in the comments.
It's
perfectly fine with it.
It's worth a watch.
Yeah.
It's not quite to the point of being. Well, it's definitely not to the point of being Ford v Ferrari.
Right.
This would be one that you could watch while you're doing something else, and it would be okay because you'd see enough of it to follow the storyline.
Right.
Ford v Ferrari, like you need to sit down
and truly invest
after you've made the popcorn, after you've poured yourself a couple of drinks. Turn all the lights out on the big screen and just absorb that film. This one,
it out.
Noises.
And that's one thing I really didn't. Going way back to Gone in 60 Seconds, the 2003 version, and how influential it was to me at 14 years old. The scene in which sounds and naming from the exhaust note all the different cars. That's where I was like, huh. I can't do that. I've referenced in the podcast there are certain vehicles that just naturally you can tell from hanging around them long enough. I'm nowhere to the level the characters because I know Nick Cage maybe.
Well,
who knows how much of a car guy he is. But
some of that was probably embellished a little bit though.
Yeah. So anyway, but Transporter, hadn't seen it. My bad. I've got a few just kind of honorable mentions before I throw out my last standalone non-franchise before we dive into the next one, and we may venture into them. These are more car stars in non-car movies.
Okay.
So they're probably not on your list, but I felt that they had to be mentioned.
Yeah.
So honorable mentions.
All right.
So pretty much any Batmobile.
Okay.
I mean, growing up watching Batman,
right.
Who didn't want to drive the Batmobile?
Right.
I've seen several Batmobiles in person.
What's your favorite?
Just from a goofy standpoint, the Adam West Batmobile.
Yeah.
I've seen that one in person.
Yeah.
I'd say the most iconic and classic is the one I grew up with, and that would be the Michael Keaton one, which I've seen most often. They used to have one sitting outside the Batman ride at Six Flags in Texas, in Dallas or Arlington. Don't roast me for that one. And then we had one recently. Was it this year? At this year's car show here in Tyler, Texas. So I've seen that one a lot. But the Tumbler.
Absolutely.
If I could have a Tumbler with the breakout. What they call it? It wasn't a bat bike. What was it?
Whatever it was.
The motorcycle thing. That thing was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And just on a side note, I've recently traveled to Chicago where The Dark Knight was filmed primarily, and did a walking tour by myself at night. Probably not the best idea in Chicago. Of all like the major scenes in that movie. And the most fun part was like the big tumbler chase scene with the Joker when they are in I'm trying to remember the name of the street that they gave it on the movie, but when they are underground in the tunnel that was the street my hotel was on.
No kidding.
So, like, I didn't have to walk far for that one.
Oh, that's really cool.
And then the big scene where they flipped the semi-truck,
Yep.
that was like a mile and a half, 2 miles away from the hotel. So naturally I had to go see that.
Well, of
and
course.
I took
Yeah.
all kinds of pictures while I
Yeah.
was there. But that movie, truly awesome. And especially in that one, the car was a pivotal character.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So,
have you seen
haven't
the
mentioned that
teaser photo
Yes.
of the new muscle bat
yes.
mobile thing?
We've shared
So-
it on our Facebook and Instagram. So dig through our Instagram.
Yes.
You can find it.
I found out the guy who helped design that vehicle, may have been the sole designer of that vehicle, has also designed the Unicorn, the Huna truck, and 2 or 3 other rigs for some of the livery and things for Ken Block for his cars, and is currently
So there's
designing a new Fox body for Ken Block.
So there's a lot of legit car stuff going
Oh,
on with the
man.
new Batmobile.
Oh yeah,
I'm very interested in to see. So, for those of you unaware with Batman culture, of which we're both well in tuned, there is a new Batman coming out, starring Robert Pattinson.
sometime when movies start
yes,
coming out again.
So we'll see that one.
Oh yeah,
The last honorable mention, because the other one, the car plays bigger. I'll save that for next week.
Okay.
But the last honorable mention for tonight, Back to the Future.
oh yeah.
So the DeLorean, the
Right.
time machine,
Right.
had to bring it up. It was in our dream car bracket challenge. It definitely served a role. It brought that car's popularity to something that it never would have seen any other way.
Oh yeah.
So
I have
mentioned that one.
2 honorable mentions.
Okay.
And they're kind of the same, but they're not. So Herbie the Love Bug,
That had to be mentioned by you.
It had to be mentioned.
Yes.
And really great films, hilarious films. The originals, Herbie the Love Bug, Herbie Rides Again, Herbie
come on.
Goes Bananas, Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo.
You don't like the remakes?
Fully Loaded was okay. It was Lindsay Lohan who did okay. It was an interesting story, which was okay. But the minute that Herbie goes to NASCAR, like the suspension of disbelief thing has to kick in for the entire rest of the film, right? Because there's no way that car could ever keep up with 200 mile an hour race cars. It's just.
But it's Herbie.
But that's the other honorable mention, and that is the NASCAR Herbie.
Yeah.
I love the look of the NASCAR Herbie. And so they had 2 cars. They had the stunt car that was basically just a shell that they would tow behind whatever to do the camera shots with her in it and stuff like that. Then they had a legit race car Herbie
all the
car,
shots.
which had a turbocharged flat 4 air-cooled Volkswagen engine in it. Like 300 horsepower scooting little sucker out of that
Little speed bump.
Volkswagen. Yeah. So pretty cool little fun facts there about that one. So those are my honorable mentions.
Yeah, I knew Herbie had to be in here somewhere.
See?
You couldn't go without mentioning Herbie.
Well, and I keep having more films come to me.
I know it's tough, and like I said, we have forgotten some. So don't.
And an honorable mention car, and you're gonna kick me for this one. I hope you can't reach me under the table. The General Lee. Right now, I will stop the cringing by saying this. There's a reason we have not mentioned the Dukes of Hazzard movies, because the Dukes of Hazzard movies will they're not. It's not worth it.
No.
If you want good Dukes of Hazzard, old school jumps, horrible acting.
It's a TV show.
All that, it's TV show. We're not
From
doing
the
TV
80s.
shows this time, so we'll leave that one alone. But I had to mention the car.
All right, so my last one, I've only seen it once. Probably would buy it if it weren't for the language in
Right.
it, which the genre is kind of guilty of.
Yeah.
And you might have picked that out from some of the movies that I've listed. They aren't terrible, but like
Right.
Ricky Bobby.
Oh yeah,
I'm used to watching the edited version of that one. I do own the unedited version, but even that's got some stuff that, I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of garbage that doesn't need to be in there. But anyway, love this movie. Seen it once, again, mostly due to the language. Had some great stunt scenes in it. Great soundtrack, great actors, really good story. Relatively cheap compared to some of the things we've talked about recently. Let's see, it came out in 2017, so very modern movie with a very low budget. So 2003's Gone in 60 Seconds, what did I say, 90 million?
Yeah.
So this had a third of that. And
17 years later.
Yeah. So
15 years later.
Let's see, it grossed 108 in USA, worldwide 227. So it did really well worldwide. Any guesses as to what it is before I mention it?
I'm drawing a flat blank.
I wonder if you've even seen it. So, Baby Driver.
I have not seen that one, but it intrigues me.
Yes. That's where I stood. I did not see it in theaters. I had been hearing about it. So I've heard about it from car people and non-car people alike. Because there will be the audiophiles who say the soundtrack is amazing, which the soundtrack is really good. It's kind of one of the characters of the movie is the music. I'll read the synopsis from IMDb first. Baby is a young and partially hearing impaired getaway driver who can make any wild move while in motion with the right track playing. It's a critical talent he needs to survive in his indentured servitude to the crime boss, Doc, who values his role in the meticulously planned robberies. However, just when Baby thinks he's finally free and clear to save his own life with his new girlfriend, Deborah, Doc coerces him back for one more job. Now saddled with a crew of thugs too violently unstable to keep Doc's plans, Baby finds himself and everything he cares for in terrible danger. To survive and escape the coming storm, it will take all of Baby's skill, wits, and daring, but even on the best track, can he make it when his life is forcing him to face the music? So, again, really good cast, really good. Here's some of the people. Ansel Elgort. You might know him from some teen movies and stuff like that. He was the brother in the Divergent series.
Okay.
He was the lead male character in Fault in Our Stars.
He's had some.
Let's see, John Hamm is in it. Lee James, Morgan Brown, Kevin Spacey's in it. He plays a big role.
Cool. I'm gonna have to watch
Jamie Foxx is in it, which I'm not saying his name on here. Where is he? I know Jamie Foxx is in there and he plays a big role. But, great cast, great soundtrack, really good story, and definitely worth a watch.
Yeah.
Without the kids around.
Yeah, fair enough.
Again, dealing with a little mature concept. I read it in that synopsis that there are some violent thugs that get involved. Everything takes a turn. You can imagine if I've already said I didn't like it because of the language, kind of where that goes.
Oh, yeah.
But definitely an interesting way to spend. Let's see, how long is that? 113 minutes. So it's not too terribly long.
No.
An hour and a half.
Yeah.
Just over an hour and a half. So definitely worth checking out.
Cool.
And
I'm adding that one to my to be watched list.
So, which brings us to the end of this episode. Just a reminder that this is a two-parter.
Yes.
So we will be leaning a little more heavily next week into franchises and our thoughts on movie franchises that focus on cars. There are several good ones.
There are some good ones.
And some stinkers.
Yeah.
So, very much look forward to getting into that. But what do you think on today's list? Did we leave any out? Keep in mind, again, next week we're talking franchises. So I can already hear you Fast and Furious fanboys.
Oh, yeah.
It's okay. We're getting there.
It's coming.
But let us know what you think about the list today.
Fast fanboy right here. This is me.
Did we completely gloss over something that you love? Are we too new and modern? Do we not know enough or do enough justice to something that you love that we brought up? Anyway, let us know in the comments. Let us know on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Go to our website, send us an email, whatever you have to do. Comment on YouTube. Let us know. What you got over there, Matt?
I have actually fresh in the mailbox today.
Perfect timing.
I know. My gearhead shirt. Ethan got his in a couple of weeks ago. My youngest, little gearhead.
Yep.
Love
So
it.
we've got stuff for the big gearhead and the little gearhead.
That's it.
And we've even got some for the female gearhead.
For the ladies.
Because it goes all the way around.
Oh, yeah. This is my wife's tank. She's a huge tank top shirt fan. And she says she's worn this a handful of times already. She loves this shirt. It fits her very well, and she's super stoked about it. And don't forget, we have hats, too.
Yeah. My hat's
Yours is on order, isn't it?
on its way. I got a navy blue trucker hat. So,
And the
stickers are
the
available.
stickers are cool.
Yep. So,
See, they're really cool.
yeah. We've got even more merch out there. We've got blankets. So one of our friends has ordered a blanket.
Yeah.
I told her to send us a picture as soon as it comes in, just
Oh,
so
yeah.
we can see what it looks like. But all that can be found. There's a shop button on our website, gtgarageshop.com. Again, hit us up, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all at GT Garage Talk. Find us on YouTube. You can find us anywhere at gtgaragetalk.com.